Hello, today is Monday, October 28th, and we are kind of wrapping up and starting something today. So we're going to wrap up our essential question writing and our practice on that. And then we're going to begin looking at differences between the North and the South. This is all kind of tying into the lead up to the Civil War. So our word for today is agrarian. That's how it's pronounced. And so you can see it's a person who favors agricultural. There's the connection. I bet if we looked up the prefix for it, it'd have something to do with food or outdoors or something like that, because we have the beginning agra there. So but anyway, that's a tangent. We're looking at, so agricultural. So agricultural means farming land and produce, things that are made for consumption. Things are made outside. So this is a time period where a lot of people believe farming was the most important thing that you could do. And anything else was really secondary. So, for example, Thomas Jefferson, our third president, part of the reason he purchased Louisiana Purchase from France is because he wanted to expand our agricultural base so that we could have more people farming. He thought that would be how we would always make our money and have our country survive. So we do definitely, and we owe a lot to farmers today, but that is one way now instead of the only way to make a living. So think about what might be an antonym for that. A lot of times agriculture happens in rural areas, rural, and in opposite of it, there's something that starts with a U that is more city life. So think about that. Today, our target, we're going to look at specific things that either describe the North or the South. And so an activity you're going to do towards the end of the hour will have you read some information about the North and the South and do some drawing. And so you should be able to find 5 things that describe either the North or South. So that's our target. So turn in last week's target sheet, and then that essential question writing worksheet. So it looks like this right here, and it's broken up into boxes because we're going back now and really working on what evidence is and finding evidence. And you can see right here underneath my little circle, there's some ideas of evidence: facts, quotes, examples, definitions. That's evidence. So on Friday, we actually had groups create lists of evidence to support successes and failures for each group. So we're using that now to plug into our sheets here. And I kind of created something, and of course I didn't open it up. Interesting. Let's see if I can find it. Maybe I can. There it is. To help us break it down a little bit. And by the way, that essential questions sheet is in the bottom of the Era of Reform Schoology. So just so you know how I talked about this with class, in class today, I actually had to skip over this first box and go right to the second one, because it's easier when you know your 3 reasons to write down than your introduction. So what you're going to do is right here, this is what it says in the sheet. The first reason I think the reform movements, and here's where you're going to write either greatly, slightly, somewhat, or didn't improve. So you'll write that in. You'll write which one you think it is there. The lives, so I might say greatly. Okay. The lives of Americans in the mid-1800s was and you're going to pick one of your 3 reforms that we've talked about. So we talked about prison, educational, women's reform, and slavery reform. So you're going to pick one of the 3 for this first reason. So you might pick prison. Okay, so write that in. Now, evidence that supports this opinion. So you need to find some facts, some people, some events that describe it. And please note down here, you need at least 2 pieces of evidence from the prison reform that support your opinion that it greatly improved life. And you'll jot those down in sentence form at the bottom on the lines of your sheet. More is better. If you have more than 2, include that. Remember, this time we're really working on evidence gathering, so I'll be looking at your evidence. So after you come up with that, and there should be some pictures underneath this sheet in the Era of Reform Schoology folder that are from other people's that they created on Friday, their evidence. You can use that, or you can go to chapter 17. Then you worked on the second one. You had to again write down what you thought. Maybe this one also greatly improved, or it's somewhat improved. And then you'll put down the reform that you're talking about here. So it might be women's reform. And then again, the evidence. Then you'll do that one more time for the third piece of evidence, that the third one that you have, because there are 3. Then you take a couple minutes to do that. And then I go back to the introduction and the conclusion. So this opinion claim statement, the introduction sentence. So you're going to circle which one you believe that kind of ties into your 3 reasons and your evidence. And then for this one, you're literally just going to list the 3 reforms that you're going to talk about. So you're going to list it greatly improved the lives of Americans in the mid-1800s because of prison reform, women's reform, and slavery reform, period. That's really it for this first one. So you're just telling us what you're going to be talking about. Then we get to the bottom, and this time we're changing. Instead of, this is your concluding statement. So instead of just listing again, I believe it greatly improved because of, instead of just listing the 3 reforms, now you're going to add in a little summary about each of these reforms and your best piece of evidence to say why it greatly or somewhat or didn't improve. So you might say it didn't improve the lives of Americans because educationally, only young white boys were able to attend school regularly. So it didn't improve most lives, period. Then you'd say your next reform and why. So you're going to give us a little bit more detail. You're summing it up and wrapping it up in a nice way for us so that we can leave your paragraph going, oh yeah, it makes sense. So you'll put that all on your sheet. All of these you'll answer and fill out. And then you're going to turn that in tomorrow in class. So that's the plan there. The other part of today then is in our new folder, the divisions of the North and the South. And you are going to, I guess, just today read one or the other, either the North pages or the South pages. And I want you to jot down something from each of the topics that describe the North and the South. The topics are things like the economy, the culture, the weather, the climate, transportation. So write down each one in your notebook and something that describes it. And you can pick North or South, your choice. Be prepared to share that tomorrow because we're introducing North and the South and talking about how they are different and similar will be where we go with this tomorrow. And that's also your target. So a lot of it is that essential question, making sure that we have the different pieces and we're really finding the evidence and then the differences between the North and the South. And then we'll talk about that tomorrow. All right. If you have any questions for me, let me know. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.